Good evening and welcome to the South County Fire Board of Commissioners regular board meeting for July 15, 2025. I'll go ahead and call us to order here at 7 p.m. Ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So anyway,
Okay, Commissioners, you have in front of you the draft agenda, board members, the draft agenda. Is there anything else for the, we don't have, the chief doesn't have anything else for the agenda, anything else for the agenda? If not, I will move the adoption of the agenda as presented. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Chan. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. That takes us forward then in the agenda to item number 4, which is the consent agenda, which includes item 4A, which is the claims vouchers of today's date totaling $1,192,308.15. And item 4B, which is the June 2025 payroll summary and authorization. I'll move the adoption of both those items in the consent agenda. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Teofilak. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda items. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. And that moves us forward on the agenda to item number 5, which is approval of the meeting minutes. Today we have the meeting minutes for July 1, 2025, the regular meeting, and July 8, 2025, the work session meeting. I'll move the adoption of those two sets of meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Chan. It's been moved and seconded to adopt those two sets of meeting minutes. Is there discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. That moves us forward on the agenda then to item number 6, which is public comment. We'll start first in the room and then go online. First in the room, is there any request for public comment before the board this evening? Any request for public comment? Any request for public comment? If not, let me turn it over to Ms. Blankenship to see, do we have any request for public comment on our Zoom platform this evening?
We do not.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Blankenship. I'll come back to the room one last time. Any requests for public comment here in the room? Not seeing any. Thank you. We will then move forward in the agenda to item number 7, which is the fire chief's report. Good evening, Chief Eastman.
Good evening, Chair Kenny, Vice Chair Lawrence, the rest of the board, liaisons and staff and the public. It'll be a brief chief's report tonight. I just have a couple things. We had the privilege this afternoon at Station 21 at 3 o'clock to present the 2024 awards to the organization. One of the things to remember about those is the awards are, for the most part, come from their peers. Well attended. It was it's one of the funnest things I get to do outside of hiring people and promoting people. So great event. I'm assuming there'll be pictures at some point in time, and if you get an opportunity to see those on some of the social media platforms or on Facebook, and but again, well attended, and I think we only had a couple of the participants that award winning or awardees that weren't there in attendance. So lots of family. It was a great event. A little bit hot, but a great event. Remind the board we moved the first meeting in August to Wednesday instead of Tuesday because it's National Night Out. I know that's 3 weeks away, but I know staff will be participating in multiple venues across across the RFA, and I'm sure there'll be more information that will come out via email on kind of where they are, what's going on, which ones we have resources at, which ones we don't. And don't be surprised if we say we're spread thin, and if somebody would like to represent the RFA in this location, we're going to make sure that the board is participating. I think it's important enough we move the meeting to a different date so we can do that work. So more to come on that, but I wanted to make sure we don't have another meeting until after National Night Out. So I wanted to highlight that for you guys tonight. I think the only other thing I want to bring forward is, and Commissioner Chan, I can't actually believe I'm saying this. This has been something you've been talking about, I want to say for whenever we started our drone program. So it's been a few years.
Motorcycle.
Nope. No. This is not motorcycle medics, although that would be a fun thing.
Okay.
It's specific to drones. We've been asked to help with the proof of concept, as one of the fire agencies, and I don't know, James, if there's another, if it's us. It's mostly law enforcement driven today, but the technology does now exist, and we have waivers to be able to have a drone, Commissioner Chan, on a rooftop, not 911, but for example, Station 15 as an example, or Linwood PD headquarters, for example. And they now have a setup for a command center to prove concept. And they're going to do this the first week of August, so the 3rd through the 9th of August. And what this is we get a call and the drone can launch immediately through the command center in 911 and can fly line of sight to the location of the incident, and provide real-time video feedback to us, and multiple things. So I guess I want the board to know this is happening. It's James and DC Weigel were asked by 911 if they wanted a fire department agency to participate, just to make sure the concept actually makes sense and how would we utilize it. Law enforcement's pretty easy, right? I think we all know if you launch at the time of something going on and law enforcement can see what they're getting into before they get there, that kind of stuff. We're not so sure what that means for fire. With majority of our calls being EMS calls that are in houses. But there's other options and the technology isn't there yet, but the ability to put a life jacket on and take it to a near drowning at one of our lakes, or one of the waterways. The ability potentially to hold blood. It's hard for us. We don't have enough blood to put on multiple resources, but we could actually have it deployed and delivered via drone, which would actually, and the drones fly about 45 miles an hour. So there is some capabilities that make sense, but they want to prove concept. That's happening through the 9th. I'm sure Commissioner Farinoff will get a better brief on Thursday. I just wanted to let the board know that was happening. We're participating. I think there's going to be a drone on Station 15. They'll launch from Station 15. None of the video is coming to us. The video is going to 911. So there's a whole lot of other things that need to be worked out. But they want to actually prove concept before they start doing any of the other work. So I wanted to let you know that's going on, and 911 specifically came and asked us and talked to James and Todd Weigel to see if we were willing to participate. I think it's worthy for us to do, because there's going to be a lot of work that goes in if we operationalize it, and we want to make sure that it works. And so it'd be fun to report on what that looks like when it comes out. So I just want to let the board know that's happening. And it's the vendor coming in. We're using the vendor drones and those pieces, but more to come. Just want to let you know that. And I'm going to look at my staff to see if I missed anything. Anything else for Chief's report? And with that, that concludes Chief's report for tonight, unless you have questions for me.
Any questions for Chief Eastman? And we'll start with Commissioner Frenhoff, then Commissioner Chan. Go ahead, Commissioner Frenhoff.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chief, for the report. Just to tack on to that, most of these drones, as you say, we do a lot of EMS work, and so there's not a practical connection necessarily to a EMS call, but the equipment that these drones possess, the FLIR alone, just being able to heat signature on the water, heat signatures in wildland, where are your boundaries of your conflagration? All of these are going to be immensely important. And we'll come to the conversation in a year's time of how did we live without this, right? So I'm very excited. Thank you.
Penza, my concern is the price tag, right? And for fire specifically, if you look at some of those pieces, Commissioner Farinoff, that you're talking about, they're very, 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 very low frequency for us. And so we're eagerly looking to see what it can do. And then the rest of the story, because some of it's very narrow today, that may be expanded. So the best part about being in at the base is we'll know how it grows, and there'll be a point where we go, now we need to be in, or whenever that is, knowing what we have. So like I said, the team's looking forward to watching it, having the conversation, see what the opportunities it presents and provides for us. And because it's coming whether we want it or not. I mean, the technology's there. The fact that right now they can fly at 200 feet at 35 miles an hour, it's going to go to 400 feet at 45 miles an hour. And that's just going to get better. And they can do it without having a pilot line of sight, which adds, now that we can do that, it opens up a lot. Again, there's an immediate need for law to be using this. And there's applications that work for us too, that would make things a whole lot easier. It's going to be what the cost is. And there's a whole lot of more conversation to go with that.
So does that mean if I walk by your office and you're wearing your flight helmet and playing with the joystick on your computer, that you're out flying the drone?
Nope.
No? Oh.
Commissioner Chan.
Yeah, actually following the drone, I think when we first,
Oh, my-
That little red button.
I think the first we discussed is that because if it's a fire, you do the 360, right? I thought a drone would be perfect for you guys, even before the trip, you do the 360 because, I don't know, you gotta walk pretty slow, so so if there's zone, if they can give you some picture, you already have, I think you should save a lot of time on the fire side.
We know that when they fly, they can transmit and the rigs can get them on the MDC and see what the drone's seeing on the way there. So like I said, we're eagerly looking to see what the proof of concept and how, the why, the questions and how does it dive into the future of what we do in the fire service? And what does that look like? And I think this is step one for the broader conversation.
Well, but I was in France and the big fire in Notre Dame. And really, they have a lot of divisions already, right? That was very good. Actually, I've got a couple of questions. Number one, do they still, I remember Commissioner Withers was going to dunk the chief game. Do they still have that?
I don't know.
McCollum, I think is in McCollum Park. Remember the guy?
Yeah, we haven't been asked to do that in a long time,
I would
Commissioner
like,
Chan.
I would like you to volunteer that, and I would like to go and buy some balls and play that. All right, okay. And then I have questions on, what was that? Okay, on the annual, when was it happened today? Where did it happen? And is the commission invited to it or no?
So right now, you know what? There'll be more information as we get closer. It's the 3rd through the 6th, or 6th through the 3rd through the 9th. So if there's an opportunity for outside to come and view, we'll make sure you know. Right now, we know preliminary stuff, and I don't think everything's been vetted out yet. Like I said, Commissioner Farinoff should get a better brief. We'll get a better brief on Thursday from Snow 911.
Oh, no, I wasn't meant that. I mean, the award, you just,
Oh.
you did today
We did it today at 3
with the
o'clock.
families and all that.
Yep.
Where did it happen? Where was it?
Station 21.
Station 21, okay, so. But Commissioner were not invited, or,
Yes, you were.
You were?
About it.
I saw it somehow there, but I don't remember that, okay. I heard this, I saw that the committee is trying to nominate some people, okay,
Only I was invited, David.
all right. Okay.
Other questions for the fire chief on the chief's report? Any other questions for the chief on the chief's report? Okay, great. Thank you, Chief Eastman. That moves us forward then to item number 8, which is our union report. And we have President Pat Moore from Local 1828 on Zoom with us. Good evening, President Moore.
Hey, good evening, commissioners. It's been a while. Nice to actually get back up here again in front of you guys. We've been trying to catch up. Just seems like calls keep happening every time I'm working in a meeting. So, um, but you know, basically for Union Report tonight, obviously I think you guys are probably fully aware of like the big beautiful bill that passed that it's being called, and we're just kind of trying to monitor and see what the full impacts are going to be with that, because obviously there was some funding impacts to hospitals, us with the Medicare Medicaid stuff, and so kind of just watching to see what that's going to look like. I know at least you guys as a board have been fiscally kind of responsible as far as hopefully it's not too much of an impact to us. And so feeling confident about that, but it's obviously our hospitals and our agencies around us, our external stuff that I'm a bit worried about and what that impact's going to be to us. So, um, so yeah, we're just kind of monitoring that kind of stuff, seeing what's going on there, and what that, what that's going to look like for us come end of the year. So, um, outside of that, commissioners, right now we're just as I'm sure Chief Isotelo is right now, we're monitoring the impacts of the deployment shifts and everything, how that impact is on members and workload, and just making sure that we're serving the public as best we can. So, and I already talked with Chief Maxwell actually this morning about just some ideas about it and whatnot, and just some observations. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the trend or anything yet, but and so had a good conversation with him just on some stuff that the crews are already kind of seeing or just noticing on the street. Overall, some good positive stuff coming from it, right? Good direction, starting to move towards that dedication of units. So outside of that, I don't think I have anything else for you guys, unless there's any questions for me that I can help answer.
Any questions for President Moore from the board members? Any questions? Nope, no questions. Thank you, President Moore.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, that moves us forward in the agenda. Item number 9, which is unfinished business. And we start with item 9A, which is the 4th of July, post 4th of July response data with Communications Director Veely. Good evening.
Thank you, Commissioners. So we have some data to share with you from 4th of July related incidents. What we did was we looked at a period from June 30th through July 7th, because that is typically the period of time, about 2 weeks, when we see people start to use fireworks, and sometimes we see an uptick in related fires. And so this is kind of the breakdown of that data. You can see over that 2-week period, we did have a lower number of confirmed fireworks incidents than in 2024. We had 15 compared to 23 confirmed in 2024. That included one firework injury. That was a fairly minor injury to a child's arm after a firework brought a power cable down. There was one structure fire that was confirmed related to fireworks, and that was a park bathroom in Edmonds where some kids were playing with fireworks. There were 10 other, brush and tree fires, and then other outdoor fires involving, a dumpster, fence, and things like that. What isn't really captured here is that we did have a large number of fires that could not be confirmed fireworks related, but is a pretty significant number. So we had 28 other additional fires during that 2-week period where fireworks could have played a role. That includes 3 structure fires. 2 of those fires Chief Isotelo spoke about, I believe, last week. One of those was a double house fire north of Lake Stickney. Fireworks could not be ruled out in that case. And then there was another fire in unincorporated Linwood where there was a carport fire, carport over a dumpster, which then extended to several vehicles, and I believe burned 4 vehicles totally. So in those 2 cases, the County Fire Marshal's Office cannot rule out fireworks. There were also, 21 brush fires and 3 dumpster fires and a porta potty fire that was also unconfirmed cause during that period. So this gives you a look at the data from Snohomish County 911. So if you look at the emergency calls versus the non-emergency calls, you'll see that in 2025, the emergency calls did go up just slightly, but the non-emergency calls went down slightly. And so if you look at the totals there, it really was kind of even compared to last year. There was some AI technology that Snohomish County 911 was using this year. And so we don't know what role that might have played and where the calls were routed. But this kind of just gives you an overview of the calls that came in. It is certainly down from 2023, which is good news. So that's an overview of the data that we've gathered, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the board members for Director Veely? I guess I have either a question, Director Veely, for you or for Chief Eastman. The staffing, or maybe Chief Isotelo, the staffing from that day. We talked a little bit about it at our last meeting, this kind of the staffing up. Did that prove useful, helpful, not so much? Any anecdotal thoughts from the staff up on July 4th?
Once again, we upstaffed with 2 personnel on brush 11. And that is always very, very helpful for the number of grass and brush fires and that across the RFA. So definitely very helpful.
Great.
But no other reason.
Yeah, no.
So that's all we upstaffed was 2 people per question.
Great, thank you.
So I mean, we have questions or
Commissioner Chan,
comments.
go ahead.
So non-emergency call, how do you define that?
Well, I mean, in general, what we encourage people to use the non-emergency number for is things like noise complaints. If
Okay,
there's a
complaint.
firework-related call that's maybe not an immediate threat to life or property.
Right.
So we would hope that's what those calls were. I don't have an exact breakdown, but that is generally what it's intended for, things that are not an immediate threat.
I think we probably take the credit, our message, you have done these preventions and all this stuff. Of course, I think it's also, I think altogether banning the firework, I think that probably helps a lot of this, right? People complain of noise, but it's not emergency, right? I mean,
Yeah, and I think it becomes
Yeah, fine.
difficult for, law enforcement or any sort of responders to kind of go on a little goose chase trying to find an address. So we've been trying to encourage people not only to use that non-emergency number, but to have the exact address of what you're calling about when you actually call.
we'll claim a credit for that. Okay.
So this will be our last, likely our last large discussion or possible large discussion regarding 4th of July. We kind of ramp up in the late spring to the 4th, and then we talked last meeting and then this meeting, and then we likely won't be talking about it for a while. So I did want to see if there were, particularly from Chief Eastman, if there were any, or maybe Chief Isotelo, actually, and Director Veely on the kind of on the public education side of some of the things that we did. Any suggestions on changes to make things more effective for next year?
Well, from an education perspective, I feel like we were louder than ever in telling the community that fireworks are illegal. And I think we were quite successful in that message. We use several formats that we've never used before. We use radio ads, we use digital ads. We put out more signs into the community, and we use the electronic billboards. I think all those were powerful methods of communication that we should, I think, adopt and continue using year to year. Aside from that, I will say that, in the realm of community risk reduction, there are 5 E's that go with reducing risk in your community. Education is one of those. Emergency response is another of those. And then there are economic incentives, there's engineering, and there's enforcement. And we have heard from the community during this time that they want to see more enforcement. And so that is some of the feedback that we have gotten.
So with that, there's a lot of moving pieces with the enforcement aspect. And so I think there's conversations that staff will have because the sheriff is a big player in that, and start having a dialogue I think, it took us many years to get fireworks banned. It took us a couple more years to get the sale ban. I think the enforcement side of fireworks in the banned area is probably not an easier task. Because it's not just the county council you got to talk to. There's the prosecuting attorney's office, there's sheriff's office, there's multiple venues. I don't totally understand it all. But I think, we've got good friends in the sheriff's office that are bureau chiefs, and I know the sheriff will entertain a conversation. More so staff can get educated on the challenge, truly educated on what does that mean, to figure out what best way we can help support whatever that is that we need to support. I think we've done, great work with regards to getting it banned. Not as challenging, I think, is the next step. And so we'll reach out to the sheriff's office, and I think we saw that in Penny's presentation last week, or maybe it was the week before. I'm losing track of time. I'm getting a little bit older. But the fact that I don't think we need the sheriff telling everybody how to light fireworks. That was a little bit odd to me that went out from the sheriff's office. And I think there's some conversation that we can have a conversation and maybe message differently and those kind of pieces, at least to start. And then, if we're going to have a conversation and the RFA is going to work towards and help the conversation about enforcement, it'd be good to have a relationship with the sheriff's office and work through it and figure out, is there a way that we can get to this place together, and how is that, and keep the relationship alive as we deal with that issue, because it's one that will be, I think, challenging. I think at points for us, it'll be frustrating. But there's some real challenges with that endeavor. And it involves not just county government, but it calls the prosecuting attorney's office and calls the sheriff. So I think it's a little bit more complex. As we continue that, and along with what Christy's saying, it's time for at least me and the staff to get educated, talk directly with the sheriff and her leadership to see what are the options, what are the challenges, where's the brick walls that are hard to get over, and figure out how we can get there together, not an us versus them, but how we can work. So, but it's got to start with a conversation, building the relationship. And so we'll work on that now that the 4th of July is done. And that'll take a little bit of time. Everybody's busy and everybody's short-staffed, specifically in the sheriff's office. So staff will work through that, at least to start the conversation with the sheriff's office, because I think, one, we could probably do better in our communication with the sheriff and have a better relationship just in general, from our fire department to them. So we'll start there from a staff's perspective, and I'm sure there'll be continued conversations, hopefully throughout the next 6 to 8 months, not 2 months before the next 4th of July.
Chief, I wanted to say that I live in the Silver Firs neighborhood of South County Fire, which is a traditional hotbed of fireworks activity, and I felt like it was a little better this year. Wasn't perfect. It was loud on the 4th of July evening, but it was better. And I attribute that in part to the fact that the sales were banned at the Safeway store in Silver Firs and at Gold Creek Community Church, which typically has hosted a very large sales tent of fireworks. There were those sales weren't happening this year, and that made it harder for people in that neighborhood to just walk down the street and buy some fireworks. That doesn't mean they can't drive further and get the fireworks. It's just, it reduces the convenience of being able to do that, which I attribute to maybe a little bit better this year than in past years. And I appreciate the enforcement conversation. I know we had that beforehand, but assuming that, it would be great if the sheriff's office would like to do more, and maybe we can be a part of facilitating the financial arrangements to make that happen next year. But setting that aside, assuming that doesn't happen, I guess the one big thing that I see that we're not doing that I'd like to just put out there as a possibility is we're focused on the enforcement, not getting too far there. We're doing the education piece. I saw a lot of our social media stuff, which was great. And I loved our big signs, that one in Silver Firs. You can't miss that. It was great. But we don't have anything that's a positive attraction in the sense of we're telling you go to this other than the 3rd of July in Mount Lake Terrace. Other than that, it's the fireworks in Everett, and that's really it. And so I want to throw out the idea of, is there some way we can partner with some entity in the community for maybe a smaller fireworks show, professional fireworks show, somewhere in South County Fire? That is something we can say, hey, leave it to the professionals, and here's a show you can go to. Family friendly, of course. And have something positive, but not like, and not a Seattle size fireworks show that's, costs hundreds of thousands of dollars and you need a massive police presence for security. Not that, but smaller, but something that's positive we can tell people. Because right now we're like shaking our finger, no, 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 be educated, don't do it. And it's like, well, but I want to celebrate the 4th with some fireworks. Where can I leave? You say leave it to the professionals. Well, where are the professionals? And my answer is, well, you got to go out of the area to do that. And so maybe that's maybe not the best answer. So I just want to throw that out there as a possibility of how we can leave it to the professionals, but also provide people some options, I guess is what I'm kind of getting at, as a way to channel that energy that is that comes around with fireworks on the 4th of July. So just a thought as we look towards the future.
We used to have, Edmonds used to have 4th of July. The chamber used to put on 4th of July, and they haven't done it. I want to say, is this the 5th year that they haven't done it? Or is it the 4th year they haven't done it?
Yeah.
So there are, I mean, again, that's where I would start the conversation, because staff has talked about that. The same context, Commissioner Kennedy, that you talked, is we tell them no, but they got no place to go on the 4th in our service area. They got to go to Everett, or they got to go south, right? Or they go way, way north. And so I think there's an opportunity, and I think Chamber used to do it, and they don't I'm sure the city supported it, and we all know that there's challenges going on right now. So there is an opportunity there that I truly think is worth exploring. The one thing I will ask the commissioners is where I live, I've heard far more fireworks this last week, the weekend after the 4th. And again, I heard them last night. So are you hearing, and the reason I bring it up is we're in a red flag situation right now, probably through tomorrow evening. And one of the concerns that were brought up on the call I was on at 4:30 was people are discharging fireworks multiple days after the 4th, which has not been historically what we see. So Commissioner Kenny, in your area, because you historically have been a hotspot for fireworks in the past, are you still hearing fireworks going off, or have it been pretty quiet?
No, but it did in the 3 days afterwards.
Right.
Yes, but not now.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else on fireworks? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Chan wanted to address
Yeah, I think
this.
I
Go ahead.
remember we went to the Haunted Paris, the state of the city. I think they mentioned about there's some sponsoring on the firework or something. So I like to, hopefully you can participate, for that. I used to go and my friends that can see the firework going out on July 5th. So I think we should contact maybe our liaison. You know anything about that? Sponsoring for the firework and
No, but I know that Andrew Applewick does a lot of the event planning, and I know he works really hard to get like the food trucks out there. And I know there's a lot of effort that goes into it, but the direct funding, I don't know where that comes from.
yeah, but we'd like to, I thought at one time some sponsor, corporate sponsor or whatever, and I think that's what I'm saying. We'd like to talk to them people.
But Andrew Applewick would be the contact
Andrew
to find
Applewick,
out
okay.
how that stuff goes off.
Okay, great.
Commissioner Fernhoff, did you want to speak?
Yeah, just give you some feedback in the kind of the Wind and Tide Picnic Point area for the last 2 nights. We've had some fairly large mortar type sounds. I haven't looked outside to see if there was a show, but yeah, they're active still.
Any commissioners want to address 4th of July? Anything else? Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see, that was post 4th of July. Okay, that moves us forward in the agenda then to item 9B, which is returning to our station security modernization issue, which is for action. And we have Chief Curtis with us again this evening. Good evening, Chief Curtis.
Good evening, Board Chair, Commissioners, liaisons, staff, and guests. I'm before you this evening with a bring back from last week discussion at the workshop, asking for your consideration and approval for a contract with Long Building Technologies for modernization for our access control systems. This is commonly known as our key card system that we have on all of our station doors, interior doors from the apparatus bay and exterior doors to the station for security. This is an ask that is in the total of $651,835, which includes tax. And it's a modernization of the security system. And I'm here to answer any questions, should you have any.
Questions from the board members on the station security modernization issue and the potential contract? Okay. If not, then I think we are ready for action. I'll move that the board approve the contract with Long Building Technologies for modernization of security access controls in the amount of $589,896 plus additional tax. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Wittes. It's been moved and seconded to approve that contract. Is there discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Board. I appreciate your support. With that, I'd like to acknowledge the efforts of our IT manager, Chris Grenveld, as well. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Chief Curtis. All right, that moves us forward in the agenda then to item 9. Sorry, that concludes unfinished business, item number 9. That takes us forward to item 10, which is new business, 10A, and that's our preliminary 2026 revenue forecast with our CFO, Mr. Bothwell. Good evening, Mr. Bothwell.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. Okay, so in simple terms, the revenue forecast is an estimate of the resources that we expect to have available to fund next year's budget. And it serves as our starting point for budget development. So tonight, I'm going to unveil the forecast. I'll start with forecast assumptions. I'll talk about the summary results, and then I'll get into our top 4 revenues in some more detail. And then I'll close with next steps in the process. So for forecast assumptions, the first one is the status quo annual increases. So the things that we've historically done with the budget, with revenues, that's what's assumed in here. And I'll talk in more detail when I get to the 4 largest revenues about exactly what that means. Inflation is assumed at 3%. So we did get CPI today for June to June. It looks like it's 2.7% for CPIU. So we're not too far off there, but we'll consider making an adjustment to the actual. The third one is that grants continue unless explicitly canceled. So we have 3 large grants, one from Verdant, one from North Sound ACH, and the other from UW-CROA. We have heard that UW-CROA will not come back next year, so that one's taken out of the forecast, but the other 2 are in for now. If we hear that the likelihood that we receive those next year goes down, then we'll of course pull those back out, but for now those are in. And there's no change to the forecasting method. So over the past couple of years, actual results for revenues coming in have been really closely aligned with the forecast. And so we're continuing basically doing what we've done in the past. And if you're interested, the last page of your packet materials lists the forecasting method that we use for each of the 25 revenues that we forecast. Okay, so for summary results, overall revenues are forecasted to increase by 7.7%, and that equals $8.7 million increase. The increase is the result of annual increases to property tax and the benefit charge. Inflationary increases are also attributed to the increase for the revenues that are impacted by inflation. And then Edmonds annexation is the last item on there, and I bolded it because it is the lion's share of the increase this year. For context, if we were to implement a budget that used this forecast, the impact to existing property owners, so the rest of the RFA that's not Edmonds that's coming in this year, would be just over 1% based on this forecast. So I'm going to move on and talk about our top 4 revenues. In the past, we've had 5 revenues that contributed almost 97% of our budget. We're down to 4 now with the annexation of Edmonds, because we're gaining additional property tax, but we're losing the contract revenue that used to be one of our top 5. So our largest revenue is property tax. So we're forecasting nearly $92 million of property tax, and that's the general fire levy plus the EMS levy. Property tax is going to make up in 2026 77% of our total revenue collection. So it's becoming huge. The forecast includes the additional 1% that we're allowed under state law to increase the levy every year. It also includes the value of new construction, and historically that's added another 1% to our collections. And then the final item there, of course, is that there is some additional property tax associated with the Edmonds annexation, and that is also considered in there. We are forecasting to start 2026 with, well, based on this forecast, $8 million of bank capacity, and that's not included in the forecast. So that's still available. Second largest is benefit charge. So $9.6 million is the forecast, and it makes up 8% of the total budget or total forecasted revenues. And the forecast there includes the annual 2% increase. That's just based on what we've done historically. And then the additional benefit charge attributable to Edmonds annexation. We have capacity of about $62 million in the benefit charge. And of course, that is not included in the forecast. This third one is GEMT. We've got that forecasted at just under $9 million and 7.5% of total revenue. The forecast is based on a 3-year average, but we've not, and so that would include 2025 normally, or some reference to what's going on this year. We haven't received our 2025 payment that's attributable to the year ending 2024. So we don't know what the exact value of that is. So just to be conservative, we pushed the budgeted amount for 2025 forward. It's a pretty conservative number, so I think that's a pretty safe bet. As soon as we get that or we find out how much that's going to be, we'll update the forecast and we'll bring that update to you. We also reduced the result of the 3-year average by 20% to account for a couple of things. The first one is sort of just an operational thing. When we prepare our cost report, the way that we're allowed to report assets has changed recently, and it's negatively impacted the amount that we get out of the program. So part of the adjustment is for that. The other part is for projected Medicaid eligibility and reimbursement changes. And this is just the result of what's going on at the federal level. We expect that we're going to see some reductions in our reimbursement under this program. The other sort of side benefit of the 20% reduction is that we need to sort of wean ourselves off of some of the GEMT because we know there's changes coming to the program, and we're forecasting a 40 to 50% reduction in the next few years. And this sort of helps get us there. It won't affect the amount we actually collect under the program. We would just treat anything over the budgeted amount as one-time revenue, which is a pretty conservative approach, but also sort of gets us ready for the changes that we know are coming. We just don't know when. So this fourth one is ambulance transport revenue. It's a little less than $6.5 million and a little more than 5% of the budget. It's forecasted based on a 3-year average, just like the last one. It does include an inflationary adjustment. And one of the things we did last year is we increased the cost of transport, the adopted cost that we charge for transports, to the median of our comparable entities. And we haven't seen an increase. So we've seen a little decrease in volume with that increase in the cost of the transports. And so we're letting those offset, and we're just pushing this forward at this point as a 3-year average with just an inflationary adjustment. So in terms of next steps, on August 6th, so our next meeting, I will be prepared with a presentation on some economic data. So we just got CPI data today, so we'll look at the impacts of that. We've got the roadmap accountability, and I have a note there that includes the application of the funding guiding principles. So we'll take another look at the revenue forecast, and we'll look at what it means to apply the funding guiding principles that we worked on with the organizational roadmap project. And so we'll bring back an analysis of what that looks like. And then I've got just a really high level expenditure forecast that I'll be presenting as well on the 6th. And I'll take this down, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Questions from the board members on the revenue forecast for Mr. Valpo? Any? Yes, Liaison Kutcher.
My question had to do with what President Moore was talking about, the Medicaid cuts. How do you anticipate that kind of stuff rolling out? And is there any way at this point of anticipating how that's going to impact the budget? Or like I was thinking of the insurance people, how we went over. Is that could that impact that? When will we know those kind of things?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's really timely, right? There's just so many unanswered questions we don't know. So we're sort of planning for it. The two revenues that we have that are possibly going to be impacted by that would be the GEMT, and I sort of described what we're considering there, but also transport revenue. A lot of our payments come out of federal programs that are funded with federal dollars. So we don't really know what that's going to look like. It's part of the reason that the adjustment's in there for GEMT. We didn't adjust anything on transports just because the reimbursement rate right now on that side of the house from those programs is fairly low. But it's something we're going to keep an eye on. I don't know a whole lot about it right now, about what that actually is going to mean to us. But the provider that we have that does our ambulance billing just reached out today to say that there's some changes coming, but we don't know exactly what that is. And so we'll continue to follow up on that topic, and I'll bring any updates that I get. So probably a little unsatisfying as an answer to that question, but it's sort of a big unknown right now. Fortunately, most of our revenues don't come from those sources. So a lot of organizations are primarily funded by those sources, and we're not. So we're fortunate for that. But I'll bring you updates as I hear anything though.
Well, I don't even know if it's applicable, but like the insurance for the retired firefighters, doesn't some of that expense? So like if someone had rehab, and I knew someone had rehab from a broken hip, and they were in rehab for weeks, and Medicaid covered like most of that. Would we have to cover that in terms of the insurance, or like
Yeah,
the
that's
medical coverage kind of stuff?
That's a
too?
great point. We could be on the hook for some additional charges if they trim their benefits, because just for our left one retirees, and we've got about high 40s, mid to high 40s of folks that are on that, we would be susceptible to some additional charges if there were the changes that you're describing, if that did impact them. So we buy supplemental insurance for most of them. So hopefully that would kick in, but it could be increased premiums. It could be other things that we're paying for. So I think it's a great observation and something I've not honestly put a lot of thought into, but I should probably keep an eye on.
Thank you.
Other questions? Mr. Bothwell, I did have one question for you. Just on page 63 of the packet, in the various line items they have listed there, I just wanted to seek a clarification where you have listed there the real and personal property taxes at the top, and then the next line, annexation property tax, and then benefit charge, and then annexation benefit charge. The annexation pieces, those are separately called out because those are the Edmonds amounts?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay. Very good. Okay, thank you. Any other questions from Mr. Bothwell? If not, that sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
All right, that moves us forward then in the agenda to item number 11, which is committee updates. And that starts with Capital Facilities Committee, Commissioner Lawrence.
Yes, we had a meeting last week, and I'm going to have Chief Isatelo give a short recap.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawrence. So we're continuing to review and update the original capital facilities plan. In particular, the last meeting, we're reevaluating the needs for some of the support structures and support buildings, like here at headquarters, potential for fleet maintenance building, upgrading and sizing our training area out back, and then, of course, logistics and warehouse space. And we finalized most of that. So we now have the estimators going through everything and putting some costing to it. Hopefully, we'll have that back in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That will then provoke another round of questions and answers and careful review. And the decision was made, I believe we're going to meet the first Monday of every month. So we're going to have monthly meetings now. Because we're really ramping up and starting to cover some material. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up then is Finance and Human Resources Committee, Commissioner Chan.
Yeah, we're gonna have this Thursday. In time, if you got any more, the agenda coming up, okay. So will be agenda.
Great, thank you. Next up then is Intergovernmental Committee, Commissioner Wittes.
Thank you, Chair. We're meeting tomorrow at 4.
Great, thank you. And then
In person, right? Again, yeah, it doesn't come here. Okay.
lastly, we have Snow 911, Commissioner Furnon.
Yeah, we'll be meeting this Thursday and apparently a little read ahead there. We'll be talking about drones. So we'll be sure to send it over to Commissioner Chan's house for an introduction.
Are they going, is it going in-person meeting?
Yeah, I believe so. Hybrid, okay.
But I would like to visit the new facility. So that will be in the, what time is it?
It's 8:30, I believe.
8:30?
Yeah, at the new address, not the old one.
And your address, okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, that's the end of committee updates. We're moving on to item number 12, which is commissioner comments. Are there commissioner comments? I'll kick us off with just a reminder that the Mount Lake Terrace Tour de Terrace Parade is this coming Friday night. Meet at approximately 6 p.m. at Station 19, and parade starts at 7. If you're interested in being in the parade, it's a good time. It's usually a little hot out there, and but it's a Seafair sanctioned parade, so there's always a great turnout. And in my mind, there's always a competition between Edmonds and Mount Lake Terrace for how many people will come out. That's a pretty well attended parade. So if you're interested, come on out and enjoy the festivities at the parade and ride in one of the trucks.
So-
Other commissioner comments?
Actually, questions. Well, I don't think we need, is Rio going to be ready? Anybody knows? Because I know in Edmond situation was some of the problem with the fuel injection, they clear
will
up,
be
and
in print.
eventually they were able to go.
So James is saying that it's the intention is for it to be in the parade.
Good evening again, Board. The issue on the 4th of July parade was isolated to a clogged fuel filter. That's since been rectified. I am uncertain 100% if it's going to be in the parade or not, and I don't believe it was registered as a float, but I will work with our community outreach and confirm that for you and notify the board appropriately in the next day or two.
No, that, everybody wanted to look at that. Oh, yeah, it's really, every time it is a star in the parade.
Yeah, the volunteer support team did a terrific job getting it ready. There was a lot of after-hours work, a lot of work on the weekends, and to their credit, they did an amazing job.
Mhm.
And hopefully we can get it there.
Yeah.
But I will confirm that for you. Hopefully I'll have an answer for you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Other commissioner comments?
Oh, I
Yeah,
guess that.
Commissioner Chan, go ahead.
Yeah, I was at the Mill Creek, what do you call it, Mill Creek, what was that?
Fair? Is that a fair?
It's a fair kind of, yeah, fair. It was interesting. It's a lot of, the thing I was able to see where I know that we have a regular and then the volunteer were there. I think that's really critical. To me is, we gotta be, since we are all the community now, we gotta show our face and that's a good. But I definitely would go to Molly Terrace one. That's a good one.
Commissioner Furnon.
Yeah, Melissa and I were having a discussion earlier, and we just want to kind of run this by the board and staff. There's a history in the fire service about being able to issue folks who do outstanding work challenge coins. And it's my idea that I think the board members should have challenge coins available to them to recognize whoever within the organization and distinguish them if that's possible. If you're not familiar with the custom, if you do find somebody and you're in a leadership position, you carry a coin that's fairly large in size, usually has the agency branding on it. And it's issued at a time of recognition, and especially in the military. It's where it kind of hails from, I would imagine, and has been adopted by the fire service. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. So just something to think about, a way of creating a bridge between us and everyone else. Thank you.
Other commissioner comments? Any other commissioner comments? Okay, let's see then. That takes us forward to item number 13, which is our executive session. It'll be for the review the performance of a public employee pursuant to RCW 423110 1G. We're almost at 8 o'clock. Why don't we take our evening break till, about 8:05 or so. And then let's start the executive session from 8:05 to 8:30, so 25 minutes. And then we'll go from there in terms of possible extensions. Without objection, and we do not anticipate taking action at the conclusion of executive session. And so with that, without objection, we'll be in about a 10-minute recess and then return back in executive session. Thank you.
The South County Fire regular meeting has been called back to order at 9:45 PM. And without objection, the chair has adjourned the meeting at 9:45 PM.